Currently the oldest car in operation on the planet, it has lived through many of the great dates in recent human history. The Martianus has survived the 2 world wars, the Cold War, the sinking of the Titanic, the Russian Revolution, the arrival of the Internet, and among many other stories, which has already changed the century twice. This special model has a very curious history, since at 133 years old, it is considered the oldest vehicle in the world, still in operation. In 1881, the young Count de Dion was looking among the various Parisian stores for gifts with which to entertain the guests of a ball he had organized. Suddenly in the Giroux toy store, on the Boulevard des Italiens, he came across an impeccably made steam engine, and almost immediately asked for the craftsman who had built it. In the back of the store he met Georges Boutin and Charles Armand Trepardoux, the authors of such a magnificent copy. These humble toymakers barely earned 7 francs a day, building model ships with steam engines and scientific instruments. The Count de Dion offered to pay them 10 francs a day if they worked for him, building a larger steam engine. Dimensions that could be used to move a horse cart, evidently they accepted his proposal. Boutin and Trepardoux moved to work in an abandoned building on Rue Pergolese, near Avenue de la Grande Armée, in the heart of the Paris bicycle industry. But the main problem was that the boilers that existed up to that time were too large to move locomotives and ships, and there were not enough to assemble them into a carriage. So they had to figure out how to mount a steam engine on a tricycle, and later build a quadricycle in 1883. It had a belt drive, and the steering to the rear wheel, which was a serious inconvenience. In addition, the liquid fuel used was very prone to catching fire suddenly. As if this were not enough, the large vertical boiler made it look like a kind of coffee maker on wheels, so it was necessary to redesign the entire set. A year later, after several tests, they managed to reach a much more practical layout, which is the one presented by the vehicle that will be auctioned in Hershey. So they had to figure out how to mount a steam engine on a tricycle, and later build a quadricycle in 1883. It had a belt drive, and the steering to the rear wheel, which was a serious inconvenience. In addition, the liquid fuel used was very prone to catching fire suddenly. As if this were not enough, the large vertical boiler made it look like a kind of coffee maker on wheels, so it was necessary to redesign the entire set. A year later, after several tests, they managed to reach a much more practical layout, which is the one presented by the vehicle that will be auctioned in Hershey. Nicknamed the Marquise, in honor of the mother of the Count of Dion, this quadricycle was much more compact and already had steering to the front wheels. Dion's vehicle can also boast of being the first family car, despite its compact size, only 3 meters long, and being relatively light, about 2,100 pounds, about 952.54 kilograms. It has 4 wheels, 4 seats, hence the name 2A2, and can be driven by a single person. The mechanical advance that allowed the construction of La Marquesa was the new design of its boiler, which was much shorter and arranged in the form of concentric rings, and which transmitted its power to the rear wheels through 2 motors located under the floor. Vehicle. The water needed to produce steam was transported in a steel tank under the seat, with a capacity of 40 gallons, which was enough to travel about 20 miles. The vertical boiler was located in front of the pilot and surrounded by a bunker, which kept the fire fed with coal through hoppers that were located at the bottom, eliminating the need to stoke it. A manual pump supplied water to the boiler at first, until the pressure reached the working level of about 170 psi, and the auxiliary motors began pumping, and the water arrived automatically. Driving La Marquesa, Boutin participated in the first automobile race in 1887, was the only participating vehicle, at an average of 16 miles per hour, about 25.7 kilometers per hour, on a route of just over 32 kilometers, between Paris and Versailles, reaching top speeds of up to 37 miles per hour. The following year, it was de Dion who made the same route, achieving an average of 18 miles per hour, that is to say, about 28.9 kilometers per hour. The Count de Dion kept the vehicle in his possession until 1906, when he finally sold it to French Army officer Henri Doriel. The Doriel family owned it for more than 80 years, but they never put it into operation, among other things, because it was missing all the copper pipes, used during the war period of 1914. Doriel exhibited the Marquise in the Grand Salon Grenoble, Switzerland, in 1925, where he was awarded a special diploma of honor. Henri Doriel and his son tried to restore the quadricycle for years, but finally gave up and decided to sell it at an auction in Paris in 1987, where it was acquired incomplete and non-functioning by Tim Moore, a member of the British Veteran Car Club. After numerous investigations, he managed to discover a similar model from the year 1890 in a museum near Le Mans, where he worked for more than a year to try to copy the missing pieces. He also replaced the deteriorated woods, rusted metals, and rescued the spoked wheels and solid rubber tires. After getting the vehicle up and running, Moore participated in various competitions for steam vehicles, such as the London to Brighton, on 4 occasions. He also participated in the 1996 Centennial, where 661 of the 850 pre-1905 vehicles remaining around the world were gathered. La Marquesa has won numerous awards, such as the National Steam Heritage Premier Award from the United Kingdom in 1991, a double prize at Pebble Beach in 1997. Curiously, the last 2 times that this quadricycle has been auctioned, it has been because its owners, both Henri Doriel and Tim Moore, did not want to divide the vehicle among their descendants, or have to decide who to leave it to and who not to. In Moore's own words, which were in 2007, he indicated that the car could not be cut in half. And as one last piece of information, the estimated starting price at the Hershey auction will be between $2 and $2.5 million. And you, would you be willing to pay that amount of money for just having the first car in the world? Leave us your comment. See you in the next chapter in What You Didn't Know.